Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. I don't know what it is about Canada, but we have an epidemic across the country of having some of the worst mayors on the planet who somehow have the ability to get reelected. I need to show you a startling poll out of Toronto. This is a Toronto mayoral poll. It currently rates the race in next year's mayoral election at 37% Olivia Chow, 24% John Tory, 14% Brad Bradford, 11% Marco Mendocino, and 15% of people say other. My goodness, 90% of people should say other. All of these are bad candidates. Somehow Marco Mendocino is like the least bad of them, but 37% of people still think Olivia Chow is doing a good enough job that she deserves to be reelected. And then they're also going to bring back potentially John Tory, who I heard may run in the race. I guess Toronto wants to be like New York City, where they have a terrible progressive mayor and then they have an old corrupt mayor coming back to run because, you have Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, now running to be mayor. You have Eric Adams running as an independent. And then you have that Mundani guy running in the Democratic primary against Cuomo, who's a complete nutcase. And Toronto wants in on that. So they have put together their own slate of the worst possible options you've ever seen. Do you know who's running for re-election as mayor as well in Canada? Jody Gondek, my mayor in the city of Calgary, is going to run for re-election. Do you know what that woman's approval rating is? 26%. She has a 26% approval rating, and she's going to go for it because this is her year again. And the thing is, there's a chance people may reelect her because at the same time, Canadians will complain about the current state of the country. I just saw a poll out yesterday showing that a majority of Canadians agree that the country in many ways is broken, but they'll still reelect the same people who are in the middle of breaking it. Like you enter their office and they're just hitting things with a hammer. And we're like, my goodness, the country's broken. Can you do something about it? And the person takes a break from hitting things with a hammer. Like, yeah, I'll get on to that. And then they just keep smashing stuff. It's like, guys, stop reelecting these people. And do you know how we stop reelecting these people? We find someone actually good to run. It is depressing looking at the Calgary mayoral election because while I really like Sonia Sharp and I think she could make a good mayor, there are so many people running who have the possibility of splitting some conservative votes who are not conservative at all. I just want to quickly make a plug, guys. If you live in the city of Calgary, I have it in the description of this video as well as pinned at the top of the comments. Please register early for a Sonia Sharp for mayor sign. Please do that because we need to make sure we muscle out all of these fake conservatives from the race because Sonia Sharp may not be perfect, but she's actually wanting to cut taxes. That is like the one thing anyone running for mayor should be doing. She's good on some other issues as well, of course, but she'll actually cut taxes. The other two conservatives in the race, Jeremy Farkas and Jeff Davison, are not planning on cutting taxes. They have this Weasley thing where they say, we need to spend our money more efficiently. We need to freeze tax increases. That doesn't mean that they're not actually going to increase your taxes. That just means the property tax rate isn't going to go up, but they'll just reevaluate your home as a higher price so that you actually still owe money anyways because your house is worth more, even though it's just purely from market pressures. I hate this stuff. So yeah, guys, if you're in Calgary, please go get a lawn sign. It is very important that we muscle out all these fakes from the race so we can actually have a chance at getting rid of Jody Gondek. Even at this point, I don't think Jeremy Farkas would be any better. Look at Jeremy Farkas's website. Apparently, he's currently the front runner. At the same time, mayoral polling doesn't mean as much this early because really mayoral polling, when there isn't a campaign underway, just says, do you know the person's name or do you not? In fact, Jody Gondek was probably only the third most well-known person running for mayor in 2021, and she ended up smashing Jeremy Farkas and Jeff Davison, who are both running again for some reason because they ran bad campaigns. And it looks like both of them are running bad campaigns again. Look at this. So I'm just going to go down, and there's just some generic nonsense about Jeremy's a guy, and he has a face, and he's lived in the city for a while, and he's, grown over the past 10 years. Look at this. There's nothing here about cutting taxes. There's a household you can afford and they want to unlock more affordable housing options and we're going to cut red tape and whatnot. That's good. But know what actually make housing cheaper? That's a very easy thing you should be doing. Cutting taxes. And there's just jobs you can count on. Um, okay, well, I will champion responsible spending. What does that mean, dude? Are you going to cut spending because we spend too much? There's no way of making the current level of spending responsible. The current amount of money that we spend is irresponsible. It doesn't matter where you put the money. You have something here about safe streets. That's obviously, but I will be tough on the causes of crime and crime itself. That to me is insane. That is signaling left-wing nonsense. I will be tough on the causes of crime. Do you know what the causes of crime are? Not to be pedantic. It's criminals. You need to lock up criminals and not let them out on bail. And that's not really something a municipal government can exactly do. It's the blame here is mostly on the federal government than a little bit on the provincial government. So municipally, really what you can do is just like double the patrols on the streets, put cops on the transit systems, which I have the idea that Sonia Sharp's actually in favor of, putting cops directly on C trains and in bus terminals to make sure we can actually clean up the crap rather than just, you can't just put some more patrol cars. You need to have cops on the transit system to prevent people from using drugs and, stealing and mugging people. You have to put them on the train so the train stop being a getaway vehicle for criminals. I know, I used to work at a liquor store. That was their getaway vehicle across the street on the train. And the transit police would always show up 30 minutes late because they're not there. And they literally have to be on the train if you're going to prevent people from using it. Here's the other guy who's supposedly conservative. We have Jeff Davison here. Meet Jeff Davison, Calgary's next mayor, despite the fact the guy got absolutely washed in 2021, got like 14% of the vote. No. This is his year guy. He's learned nothing, and now he's going to win. And there's just a bunch of pablum here. Look at this. Land acknowledgement. He has a badly formatted land acknowledgement on his website. This is the conservative candidate, guys. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Pakani, and then just keeps going. Why do we have this? What is this? And he's another person where if you where is this? Is this the About Jeff session? I'm trying to find where he actually has his policies. I've seen it. There's like nothing there. Like affordability. Implement a 4-year property tax freeze to relieve financial stress. No. Cut taxes. Taxes were too high years ago. Like a decade ago, taxes were too high, property tax rates. You got to lower the rate because, again, people's house prices keep going up. So if you keep the property tax rate steady, taxes are still going to go up every year. And also, I don't believe Jeff. This is becoming a very Calgary-centric video, so sorry about that, guys, but I am going to cover the mayoral race in Toronto next year when it heats up. I'm definitely going to be covering municipal races around Calgary. But look, Jeff Davison, when he was on council, voted for every tax increase that happened. Do I believe he's not going to increase taxes? Of course he is. He maybe will find backwards ways of increasing taxes by not increasing the rate, but he's going to do that. Also, another thing, he voted to defund the police in 2020. That is something Jeff Davison actually did. And I know Sonia Sharp, I think she voted for the climate emergency thing Jody Gondek had pushed in when she first got into office. At the same time, I think I remember, she actually said that was a mistake. And if that's her low point, fair enough. It was early on, and since then, she's actually been a point of opposing things like blanket rezoning and pushing for tax cuts and is running on it. And that's way better than anyone else. But this is the problem. We have Jody Gondek, a nutcase progressive, a zealot, and then we have this other guy, Brian Thiessen, who's just another progressive pretending to be, I'm a responsible man who's going to be responsible with our spending. It's always responsibility. There's never the thing they're going to do is just, I'm going to be super responsible. I'm going to get in there and be just the most responsible. I'm going to be John T. responsibility in there. Just let me have all the power, and I vaguely promise to do something responsible, which you really can't grade me on because that means nothing. And then you have Jeff Davison and Jeremy Farkas, who are running on nothing but land acknowledgements, and I'm going to freeze your taxes. Even Jody Gondek ran on a tax freeze in 21, and now you're stealing her lines And again, none of these guys have the records to say that they're actually conservative. Jeremy Farkas used to be conservative and has since the last mayoral election become this weirdo progressive where he's not only is he not really that fiscally conservative anymore, but he's just a full-on progressive on every single other issue. Like he has some weird like chip on his shoulder about conservatives in the UCP, and so now he's gotten very pro NDP and made up with Naheed Nenshi and whatnot. It's like, okay, you shouldn't be mayor then. You have no instincts. The man needs to be mayor. Sometimes someone who needs to be elected is the worst person you can have. Jeff Davison and Jeremy Farkas running again after getting, again, clobbered in 2021 is embarrassing already. And then you have Gondek running with a 26% approval rating. This Brian Thiessen guy who's basically just going to probably be the union front group guy. And then, like, this is why I'm backing Sonia, because all these other people just suck. Just wall to wall are trash. And I think that the thing we need to do as conservatives across the country, find an actual conservative person in the race early who can win, not just some guy who puts some good things on his website, but there's nothing to actually say he's even trying. Find someone early and jam as much support into that person as possible. Because I find conservatives start like, oh, well, let's see who distinguishes themselves for like, and like people don't decide who to get behind. Get behind someone early, stick with them, get a sign, volunteer, and make sure you box out all of the pretenders. That was kind of the problem in Toronto last time. Anthony Furey was pretty good, or I think, Anthony Furey was a pretty good candidate, but I think he got in too late. There was too many other also ran conservatives. You got to be running like a year in advance. It was a by-election. I can understand Anthony Furey didn't have enough time to really kind of distinguish himself. But this next year, if Anthony Furey's going to run, he's got to run now. If he's not in the race now, then he's not going to win. All these other people, like if the old police chief wants to run again, he's got to be running now. Even John Tory, who's not even good, but I guess he's better than Olivia Chow, if he doesn't get to the race by like the fall for 2027, you're not winning. You're not going to win. You need to be in the race before 2026 if you are going to take on Olivia Chow, because she's awful. At the same time, shockingly, she actually has a good approval rating, like relatively. Look at this. This makes my stomach turn. The Leger survey asked Toronto residents about their mayor as part of a broader poll on Ontario politics. Respondents were almost evenly split over Chow's handling of municipal affairs as she nears the end of her second term at the helm of Canada's largest city. Slightly less than half, 48% of people, strongly or somewhat approve of her performance. That is like a fake number. I don't even doubt it's real, but it still feels fake. 48% of people think this nutcase is doing a good job. Only 42% strongly or somewhat disapprove. What is in the water in Toronto and even Calgary that makes people think, let's give him another chance? At least in Calgary, people hate Gondek, but like, do not underestimate people's ability to show up and still vote for her. Oh, okay. Woof. Terrible political news there. At least, guys, if you live in Calgary, again, get a Sonia Sharp sign. I don't work for her campaign. That's not why I ever push candidates. I push candidates because I think they're going to be the best possible option in any given race. If you live in Calgary, please get a lawn sign. Put it up even early. Make sure that people know that there is no chance you're voting for Jeremy and Jeff, so that people start consolidating behind someone who, if they win, will actually do something good. If Jeff Davison or Jeremy Farkas even won, they wouldn't reverse anything Gondek was doing because there's nothing on their website to indicate they would do it. Their website could have just been Gondek's website, copy and pasted with their faces on it. What do you think Gondek's going to run on? The fact she likes crime? No, she's going to say the same generic crap as them. So, people need to put their money where their mouths are. If someone's not committing to cutting taxes, don't think that they're going to be fiscally responsible. The thing is that a lot of times politicians only deliver on half of the things they said. But if the guy's saying nothing, well, you have no excuse when he starts doing the worst things possible because he didn't even promise you anything. And he's going to take advantage of that fact. Anyways, but that should be it for me today, guys. If you like this video, if you like me in general, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet a subscriber, and leave a comment on what you think about the topic of the day. Who's your mayor? Do you like them? Are they going to get reelected despite sucking at their jobs? You let me know in the comment section below.